Hello, this is Giles Edwards from 366 Weird Movies, and I am seated with a couple of filmmakers behind a new film, at least on this continent, the Fantastic Golem Affairs.
Hi, we are Juan, González and Fernando Martínez, also known as Burning Percebes. We're the directors of this movie.
And we're really happy to be here in Canada for our first time.
Oh, well, I'm not from Canada, but I'll welcome you again anyway. Let's start off with the obvious question, Burnin'. That's not a given name.
No.
How did you develop that over the course of, I presume, your artistic career?
So it's a really silly thing we did when we were 16, because now it's like a pain in the ass. But the thing is, we're called Fernando Martínez and Juan González. That's like being called John Smith and
Jane Doe or something like that. Yeah.
So we wanted to have this special name, and at that time we were making like silly videos for the internet. So it had sense. Now I don't know if it has the same sense now, but it's fun. And the name it's Burning Percebes is like burning barnacles, you know, the sea thing.
Yeah?
Yeah. There are a thing in Spain.
Those are, that's a thing in Spain.
Yeah, it's like
not burning the barnacles.
Oh, I know, okay.
Barnacles are like...
Oh yeah, I know barnacles, yeah, just...
full seafood or...
Yeah, so, okay. Well, that's fantastic, and now everybody knows. And we can just let that recede further back to your past there. So, if you might take a moment, you touched on some of the issues during the Q&A after the film, which I also recorded, so I'll be mashing this up together later. If you might want to talk briefly about the inception of this, and then how it progressed, because it's an odd concept for our listeners at home. It concerns the opening scene, two buddies on a roof playing a little movie charade game, and there's a tragic accident, and one of them shatters into thousands of pieces, which isn't what normally happens when a human falls down, however many dozens of flights that is. So tell us a little bit about what's going on and how you started thinking of this.
Well, the thing is, like a while ago, we were really fans of this platform called Tumblr that I don't know if it's still going on. It was like with the GIFs and just photos, and we sort of saw this GIF of the movie Top Secret, where this guy punches like a German soldier, and when he falls from a tower, he breaks into little pieces. But in this case, in that movie, it's just like a gag, one of more of them. And we saw that and we thought, like, what could be behind the story? Like, maybe what happens if someday you come back home and your mom tells you your father just break into pieces when he fell, or your best friend is now broken. And that's maybe like the main thing that, well, the start of the idea.
So this film was at heart inspired by a GIF?
Yeah.
That's touching. I like how far we've come. That's beautiful. Certainly, it's a bit more than that. As you say, you wanted to explore that, and there were some elements you mentioned. Friendship was a major thing. Now, was there any piece of this? There's a sort of a vignette feel. There are a lot of, very closely tied together, but a lot of little set pieces. How much did you draw from maybe personal experience or people suffering from tragedy and how they coped? Because in particular, the main character, Juan, has, shall we say, a wonderfully calm attitude throughout the entire series of incidents that occur in front of him. Do you know a Juan? Are you the Juan?
Well, maybe we are, like, there's parts of us for sure, and there's always this kind of reflection of the world where we personally live and our friends and how we approach things. But we also like to make in our movies the main character to be the one who lets the decisions make. So the movie is not going forward because of the main character, but for the other characters that makes him go on, no? Like, so this is kind of the dude situation too, no? Or or we like a lot like Under the Silver Lake.
I was going to just say that,
Yeah.
especially
And-
with the shades and hair thing
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on as well there.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make this story to be like this. Well, as I said before in the Q&A, this group of circumstances, like absurd circumstances that make the story go forward, and like a snowball that goes like bigger and bigger, but it's all like absurd.
Or in your case, not a snowball necessarily, but a piano.
Yeah.
Or
Exactly.
3, if I remember my tally
It's 3
correctly.
in the movie, 5 like we throw in the real when we were shooting. So we missed that. Throwing pianos out of trains was a funny thing to do.
Well, I think as a classic rule of comedy, you kind of want to stop at 3 anyway. So it's good that you kept us wanting more, which
Yeah,
is always
it's the perfect form,
yeah
for sure.
is the best way to go about it. And yeah, touching back on another. Oh gosh, it's great because it's such a. And I mean this in a very good way, such a breezy little comedy that still touches on a whole number of more serious things. It only dawned on me a bit at the end there that, you have 2 major business concerns. One is about the end of life, and the other is about the creation of life.
Yeah.
And by the finish, and don't worry, I'm not really giving anything away here because this is about the journey, not the, dramatic finale, but those 2 businesses coming together, and it's are your films generally so neatly philosophical in that regard?
So we try to approach comedy in a different way. So we like comedy to be aesthetic and to be sometimes profound or with other themes. So normally, at least in Spain, comedies are like really. I don't know how to say it, but like there's a lot of
like-
substance there. So it just
So
jokes.
very surface
yeah.
sitcom kind
Exactly.
of thing.
So we always want to make people laugh, but we also want to talk about the things we want to talk. And like in this case, we wanted to talk about this growing up situation or confronting the world situation for the first time. Like these main characters, when his friend breaks, that's the metaphor of him having to carry
grow.
on with his life by his own. So we wanted to talk about all that things, like the relationship with your father, or death, or
Sex
sex relationships.
Sentimental ones also. And,
Yeah. So using humor, it makes it easier to talk about things you maybe cannot approach in that way in a drama.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the father because in very many ways, Juan's father stands out from pretty much all the rest of the other characters. There's a certain surreal modernity to everyone else, and then there's him. And he very obvious. I think even another character mentions that he's sort of another time. He's the only kind of macho guy. He's older, classic. I'm sure he is very closely modeled on an archetype, quite possibly on one established by the actor you got for that. He was absolutely a delight. Whoever that talent was.
It's
to see.
Luis Tosar. He is kind of the. Nowadays, he's maybe
the most known male actor in Spain. Yeah.
Well,
one of them.
One of them, because there's like the ones who has come to Hollywood and
Exactly.
No, well.
No, not Antonio Banderas, Javier Bardem, but he's kind of in the same league in Spain.
And how did? I guess that might have meant it could have been a challenge to get him involved in this. How did you get your talons in him?
I think like the production company thought it would be a challenge,
Yeah.
but we were like more naive in that way. We just said like we want him, we sent him the script, so he read the script and he really liked the movie.
Yeah,
So
very
he's
nice.
and I guess like he made some concessions to be in the movie. Like I'm sure with not like we cannot afford his cachet or whatever, but he liked the movie and he was inside, and that opened us a lot of doors in the Spanish industry.
Yeah, I gotta say, from that little anecdote and others from earlier, a lot of this seemed to fall into place for you. And it's, certainly correct me if I'm overstating that, but the impression I got from what both of you were talking is about you had this idea, and it got picked up, and this happened, and it's like it, to go back to your earlier metaphor, just sort of snowballed into a production that seems like it was a delight to be involved with, and that.
The thing is, we wrote the script like 10 years ago, more or less. Well, the first version, it wasn't like this film that you just saw. But we thought like we weren't prepared for that, and like it requires like a big production budget, so we weren't able to get that money, and so we decided to just put it away for a while, and then when we were prepared economically and with experience, we could do this film. And yeah, but the thing is, like 10 years later, more or less, everything went like really, really fast. Like the snowball thing that you were saying, it happened like that. Like they give us a how do you say, like the subvención,
like the government paid for the half of the movie with like
the tax dollar, the various government groups I know. Especially like Europe seems to have hundreds of these.
So they gave us this thing, and then 6 months later we were shooting, and 6 months later we are in festival. So everything went like really, really fast, and we are really happy. We kind of miss it.
It was a really lucky year last year.
Yeah.
And it was like the normal thing every day when we get to film, like in the days we were filming the movie. We just to get there in the morning and see that big sets and all these people working for us, and every morning it was like who the fuck let us do this? Like there's nonsense in someone putting all his effort in our dreams, no?
Yeah, and someone talking really serious about how we're gonna make the erection scene, and like, well, because I have like this thing, and someone talking really serious to you, like about these things that you wrote like a while ago. Anyway,
there's a meeting to know how you can break the face of a guy and it shatters. So you have a whole meeting just about that, or how the blood will be shot from the borders. Because they had this like kind of shotgun that like just shoots.
I'm always a little curious to know about the very practical effects that you use here, and it's a movie that involves a lot of death, but as for the violence factor, there are 3 instances of violence, and those are the 3 involving a piano. So there's not too much seriousness you can associate with.
It's totally silly violence.
Now, this is the North American premiere. I'm going to say I presume this movie opened well in Spain. Did it?
We went really well in festivals, and like the critic and the la prensa, like the press. It was all. We also premiered in cinemas, in theaters.
Yeah.
The situation with theaters in Spain is kind of bad.
Okay.
So if you make a strange movie, it's worse. But we're really happy with how people are responding to the movie, and it's been like really crazy here in Canada. It was the first time that non-Spanish people, like talking people, seeing our jokes or listening to our jokes and laughing. That it's crazy how the cultural difference would still make the humor go on.
I think there's certainly with speaking with something of a bias. I don't work for Fantasia, but I have been attending this festival for a number of years now, and there's a quality to the individuals that are showing up to this. There's, it's very much a place that a film like yours will find its audience. Will, it's not like some schmo just sort of wandering in saying, oh, well, Golem, all right, I'll go and see that, and then kind of just being confused about what's going on.
Totally.
But, so it definitely has a home here. So I'm so very glad that.
Not to interrupt this time, but just maybe give me a sign once you're done.
Okay.
Just because we have to pivot to another one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well.
No rush.
All right. Well. with considering what we've talked about in the Q&A, that's covered a whole lot of the ground. I guess while I remember, there's a whole lot of symbolism involved, and I mean that in a literal kind of way vis-a-vis the whole golem issue. You know, you mentioned that golem was more of a, there's not like a deep myth exploration here, but it was a very convenient vehicle. But I was kind of interested to know the symbol for the Juan's father's business. That is very particular. I think I've drawn
like
it.
Two omega letters crossed.
Okay, I was trying to decipher that.
Yeah. Like the end.
Okay,
twice.
so twice. Okay, well that very handily.
See, and the
Golem Solutions. Well,
the company, the DEP company.
Yeah.
DEP is like.
Was rest in peace, but
Yeah, it's like a
Yes.
Placido or something like that. Yeah.
It's like rest in peace, like
Yeah.
RIP.
Oh yeah, rest in peace. I just
That's
imagined
in the
in
Spanish
Spanish.
way.
Yeah, I figured I've taken French, and so I figured there was probably a Placid or Placido somewhere at the end there, and
The other one is the golem.
That is
golem
really
face.
cool. Yes, and they all have the golem haircut, which
Yeah.
I thought was a beautiful touch. That father and son there, coiffed like the. I can't remember what year that is, but yes, that old silent.
like really old movie.
It's at 1920, I think.
Okay, that would I believe that definitely. So that was once I figured out what was going on there, I was like, oh, that's one of the very many clever, cute things happening with that movie. But well, as much as he said that we're in no rush, he is kind of pacing. So I have two questions for you. Do you have any plans for the near future? Because this movie is done, and it was a delight, and so obviously I know that filmmakers are always thinking of what's next.
Yeah.
And so if you have any words about that.
Well, especially us, because we couldn't stop. Every time that we finish a film, we just write in the next one.
And or going back to something you wrote 10 years ago, in fact.
No, we don't have any more backup.
Oh, okay.
No, but it's been up and down. It's been like last week was a really cool week for us because we have we've managed some new contract to make the new movie. So we already had like a
Script.
We have our new script done, and now it looks like somebody's going to pay for that to become true. But it's like we are almost there.
You guys.
So
We cross our fingers.
we cannot talk a lot about what it is, but it will be. It looks like it will be.
Okay, well that's fantastic. And I guess the one question I always like to close on: would you tell me your hometown, and can you recommend a restaurant there?
Ooh.
Okay, well, my hometown is Oviedo in Asturias, and I will recommend this restaurant called. It's difficult because there's a lot of ones that I like, but El Obetense.
And my hometown town is Barcelona, and there's a lot of cool places there. But maybe I would recommend. It's a hard question.
These are the hard-hitting questions I'm paid for.
I can recommend you Chank Imeli. That's a friend of us restaurant, and it's really cool.
Okay.
I think that would be.
Well, that's.
Oh, there's this Pachuco situation too. Like the Pachuco is a Mexican restaurant in Barcelona, but it's not like a Mexican. It's like I like a Mexican, like a restaurant. It's more like a
Bar,
kind of bar,
Yeah.
but you can eat and it's really cool. And drink micheladas.
A cantina, I believe is the term there. Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you both very much. The
Thank
movie
you.
was, as the distributors called it, The Golem Affairs, yes?
Golem Affairs.
Golem Affairs. This is the talent, and I will get this interview up as soon as I can. Thanks again.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Bienvenue à cette 27e édition du festival Fantasia. Je suis vraiment content de voir autant de gens dans la salle un lundi après-midi. Même pas encore l'après-midi. Welcome to the 27th edition of Fantasia International Film Festival and to the second repeat screening of Burning Perseve's The Fantastic Golem Affairs. We have the two filmmakers here with us tonight. And yesterday, does it work?
Hello?
No?
Hello.
It works.
Yeah.
Just try all of them at once.
We're good. We're good. So yesterday, our two filmmakers had the privilege to talk to me in the big room, and they were so impressed with the way that Mitch Davis presented the film that they asked me today. They didn't ask, but they asked if I would present the film like Mitch Davis presents the film. So I'll do my best. Welcome to the repeat of the Fantastic Golem Affairs! The most spine-tingling,
Hello. Oh,
brain-warping film from Spain! Please give it up for Burning Perseves!
Thank you for that. Thank you, Ariel. That was really, really good. Thank you very much. We really like this kind of wrestling presentation. So, thank you very much for being here. It's like an honor to have all these people in the morning in the cinema. It's really cool. So, thank you very much. I wish I could speak French, but I can. I know a little bit. Bonjour à tous. And that's my French. So we don't usually talk a lot before the screening because we want you to be like new to the movie, but we'll be afterwards with a Q&A if you want to stay and ask something. But the only thing to say is like it's a movie made for having fun and laugh during 95 minutes. So we hope you have fun and it's cool for us to see how non-Spanish people react to our jokes in Spanish. So.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We can talk later and you can tell us what you think about it or just punch us in the face or whatever you think. Thank you very much.
Now I can shout again.
Please welcome back to the stage Juan González and Nando Martínez.
Thanks for staying.
Thank you for a great movie. I want to maybe get the conversation started. For those who don't know you, don't know Burning Perseves, I'd love for you to maybe introduce yourselves a little bit and also maybe talk a bit about your approach to making films, which is quite unique to my mind. It kind of blends in a lot of influences and the style is so careful and manicured. How did you meet and how did you land on something so fun?
Well, for us, for beginning, we've been doing movies for maybe 10 years now. We started doing like really underground films, like we both paid for them, and they were like really punk, yeah, like. And 3 years ago, we made this film called Lizard Queen, and we got like an unexpected, how do you say,
like the repercussions of the film.
Repercussion of it. And then that's how we met the distribution company and the production company that allowed us to make this film. So that's more or less where we came, why we got here.
Yeah, the cool thing about this producer company and distribution company is that they knew who we were and how we like to work. So they were like really respectful. We did whatever we wanted. So it's difficult to do something like that in Spain because there's not that much money for movies and not that much money for like independent movies or different films. So having the honor to do whatever you want and with a production una estructura, like
Production structure.
people, and it's like really cool. So we also had the honor to have like one of the best casts in Spain, like the actors in the movie, maybe here not, but in Spain they are like top level, and it was our first time working with that kind of actors, and so it was really cool to do it. But we have this kind of obsession with the aesthetics in films, not only like visual, but also like the music and how we create worlds. So in this movie in particular, we wanted to create this world where you can trust a piano can fall from the sky. No? So from the beginning of the movie, we are like setting you in this set. You can see it's a set. You can see like there's no chromas. It's like there's printed canvas, and all the colors and the aesthetics are meant to get you inside our world, so we can explain this story. That like for us is like a normal, like a common, like a universal story about a guy who has to approach his life for the first time, because until that moment he was protected, and now his friend's broken, and that's like a metaphor of now you are alone in the world. You're an adult now, so you have to do things by your own, and that's like what we think the movie wants to tell, without forgetting it's a comedy and it's meant to make fun and laugh, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the golem and how you kind of like, how did you land on that mythology as a sort of way into the story that you wanted to tell? Because it is an interesting way into this idea of like maybe losing faith in your friends, or realizing that the people around you are not there for you. And
no, it wasn't like that. It's like we had like this idea of this friend that just breaks in pieces, and that changed your life for like. And then we were trying to find a way that this mythology doesn't have to be really explained. So that's how we get to the golem idea, like this Jewish mythology. And it was perfect for us to explain this kind of story about the guard angel. Like you have this bubble that protects you and then breaks in pieces. But no, it wasn't like a thing like we didn't believe in friendship anymore or something like that.
No, I think the movie talks about friendship, no, and how to. It begins with this idea of when you realize where the limits are, or you don't have to be perfect or like everything about others to accept them, or the other way. So the idea of this golem is not like the Jewish mythology, but it's like the man built of clay that would do whatever you want him to do. No, it was easier that way.
yeah.
Yeah, hi. A great movie.
Thank you.
It reminds me a bit of some of the Alex Iglesias sort of style and everything. And I wonder how much are you guys influenced? Is this a Spanish particular aesthetic, or?
Well, Alex de la Iglesia is not like a reference directly, and when we were trying to explain which are the references for this movie, we have problems, because it's like, we were trying to sell the project. It was like, what is this like this formula that always works, like this movie plus this movie. We weren't able to explain exactly what we have in our minds, but yeah, I think we have Alex de la Iglesia films in our mind because we really like it, especially when we were young, and the first ones. The other ones I don't really enjoy that much. But then there's also Almodóvar cinema in our minds. Also, like the first Almodóvar movies has something to do with this film, and also obviously we have something like Wes Anderson in our mind, like when we were trying to do the shots, and then. Well, maybe.
Yeah, because maybe we had this. We have more like a nice approach to fantasy. So, well, people dies, but we never have like this like violent or horror approach to fantastic films, and because it's sometimes difficult to find like comedy with this fantasy in it. Like, I don't know how to say it in English, but it's realismo mágico, like
Magical realism.
magical realism. So I think that's what the difference between people like Alex de la Iglesia or us. But there's also this connection because we're Spanish and like there's cultural similarities and shit like that. But it's like there's more, no, like Juan was saying, there's more like of Almodovar or more of the Coen brothers as they build the stories. Like we like a lot, like Quemar después de leer.
Burn after reading or Big
The way that
Lebowski.
silly things can make other silly things happen, and it's like this snowball that gets bigger. And then there's a lot of like comic books too, like ¿cómo se llamaba? Daniel Close or paintings like Hopper. There's this scene in the movie where they are fucking in this, traveling into the house, you know, like with the birds flying, and that's a painting by Hopper, like that's a reproduction of a painting, a Hopper painting. So there's all these different places, influences. Plus the music is like, because we wanted to make these practical effects in the movie. We wanted all to be practical, all to be like kind of old school. It's shot in 16 millimeters, and we wanted the music to be as the great orchestras in the Hollywood classic movies, no, with Xavier Cugat, and it's kind of an homage to that.
Does that answer the question?
I can see now that you mentioned the other influence. I mean, there's definitely sort of something that's sort of Spanish aesthetic, but also,
Yeah.
as you said, I can see like the Wes Anderson stuff kind of combined, and it's more gentle than like a Iglesias movie. Like
Yeah, and I guess too, it's like we live in Spain, so it's more difficult to us to see inside. Maybe if you see the movie from here, you're able to find the similarities from the Spanish directors. But as we are Spanish directors, we want to get distant from that, so we see the influences out. So maybe you see things we don't, and they are equally true because we're not able to see them.
yeah, it's a sort of sense of humor,
Yeah.
Spanish sense of humor and stuff.
Yeah, of course, yeah, totally.
Thank you. I had a hand back there.
Yeah. I understand that you wanted to bring like friendship is fragile, life is can leave any time, but why choose Dead by Piano by any other band?
Well, because we thought it was like the funniest way that the worst thing that could happen to that company. Like they say, like the algorithm is broken, so we have to deal that now. The people is gonna die in the same way, and which is the funniest or the most ridiculous way to die is like getting smashed by a piano. So it could be a stroke, but it's better if it's more Looney Tunes.
Kill by a spoon?
Sorry?
Kill by a spoon?
By a spoon, yeah, that would be
that
cool
could
too.
also be cool.
And we had this idea, like this breaking this writing rule, the Deus Ex Machina. I don't know if in English you call the same. So it was like, fuck it, we're gonna do the biggest Deus Ex Machina ever. No? Like whenever this guy is going to tell you something, boom, piano.
So the
it was
father
like
could
this,
have died with the crushed by the piano after being killed by the knife? Or something like that?
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
So at the end, technically, I thought that everybody was supposed to die the same. So I thought in the train, the father will just die by a piano too. So
Oh,
There
yeah.
was once in the script,
Yeah.
I think, like because they weren't like really close. So we thought like maybe the worst thing that he could do to his father is getting smashed by a piano. But then we thought maybe he would make like this connection at the end, like giving his father the death that he really wanted.
Because at that point, the algorithm is
already
fixed, no?
yeah.
But it would be nice, he's in the train and a piano falls inside the train.
So no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm used to seeing Javier put that in small roles, character roles, monster roles. Can you speak to giving him a fairly big role in this film? I'm not used to seeing him with such character throughout the length of the feature film.
Well, Javier is a really good friend of us, and we met while he was doing, I don't know which one, maybe Mama or something like that. The Muschetti, it's Muschetti, right? Mama. I don't want to.
I think so.
Yeah.
Andrea Muschetti or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, he's always doing these roles like monster because of his condition, like he has this disease, the Marfan syndrome. And we really want to explore this like comedy acting thing that he has inside. Like he's really, really funny, and we really love this his faceta.
Yeah, he's one of the most funny, like the funnier people we know.
Yeah.
Like in real life, when you talk to him, it's like he's hilarious.
And yeah, we really want to work with him in the future, like explore more of his acting in comedy thing.
Like in our last movie, he was one of the main characters too, and we had this idea like he's like the lizard prince. So we had this idea like he's normally the guy dressed as a monster, and in that movie he was a monster dressed as a human. So that was Javier Botet. And now in this movie we thought like, let's get rid of all the monster shit and just like him. He's a regular guy, and we don't have why to explain why his body is like that. So that's something in the movie is like really important for us. Is like breaking the canonic body shapes, the canonic masculinity, the canonic like breaking with all the things that for us is like not breaking, because in reality are like that. No, the reality is people are different, and we're not all like in the cover of a magazine. Like everything is. So it was fun for us thinking about we have to break with the canon, but the canon is the strange thing. Not breaking with it is like making reality. I hope that was like because my English sometimes is.
If you need to switch, don't hesitate.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have any other names for the movie? Like any other, or was it always?
It was supposed to be named just Golem, but the distribution company thought it wasn't like catchy enough for the audience. Like they won't understand it will be a comedy. Like they want like all the poster and all the image that like for the cinemas will be like really clear, and they thought like in Spain it's called like the Fantastic Golem case like
Caso del
case.
Fantástico Caso del Golem. That's like the Fantastic Golem case, like in an investigation.
Yeah.
So we don't really know what the Fantastic Golem Affairs means. Like I'm not really sure what affair is.
Like affairs plural, like
Asuntos.
asuntos. Yeah.
Well, that was the distribution company. It sounds nice.
And also double entendre, because affair can be like sexual, and affairs is like an ongoing asuntos. You know, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like when it was our first time approaching this big project which is meant to go to cinemas, and no, because our last movies were more like in the festival thing, and then going to the internet. But they respect us in the movie creation, they respect all the process, but when it comes to distribution, they say like, okay, now you have to understand we have to do things for selling the movie. And it was like kind of strange. It was cool because they are like cool people, but they did like we'll never have done the poster or change the name in that way, because we care a lot about aesthetics, and then with the poster they break all the rules of the colors in the movie. It's like crazy for us, because there's a lot of work in everything has its color, every character has its color, and the sets change when one goes in, and then they do that poster, and it's like, okay.
But you have to
it is
trust
what it
him.
is, yeah.
Like it's his job. He probably know better than we do, so you have to trust him. That's
And they paid for it, so.
Yeah.
We have time for one last one. Yep. Back there.
First of all, thank you so much for making such amazing film. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Such a surreal experience, and also very engaging, because like the audience keep having questions popping up because of how bizarre it is, and then later it gets answered. It's just, and everything, I would say like all the details are thought of. I love the costume, the lighting, the camera work, the framing, everything is very thought of. So I would like to ask, what's the challenge challenge in producing it? Is there any part of the production that's more challenging, like the lighting or the color? Which part of the production was you spent most time and effort on?
The thing is, we were really lucky because we got to work with people that we've known for years, and they're kind of friend of us. And I think we also were really lucky. Like the production company left us like maybe 3 months of pre-production with this team. Like we were doing all the time like meetings and designing the world. So I think that's maybe the most difficult part, but also the really great part about it, and we would really enjoyed it.
Yeah, really the most difficult part is getting production companies to make the movie.
Yeah.
Like finding someone that trusts you and puts his money on it. But once you get that,
Yeah.
it's always all the processes are fun,
Yeah.
and they are all difficult and easy in different ways. And when you're shooting, there's there's some sequences that are technically more difficult than others, but then others are like in an acting way difficulter or
You always can find like problems, but at the end it was a really beautiful experience shooting this movie,
Yeah.
and I think we all had a great time doing it.
Cool. On that note, please give it up for Juan González and Nando. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.